the surface.
Speaking of uneasy, one scene I couldn't shake was when Claudia falls asleep under Monday's bed. While April's desperately trying to hide what happened, that buzzing freezer, the messy house, that feeling that something awful has gone down, but no one's talking about it. So creepy.
Oh yeah, that scene is so well done. Jackson uses these sensory details like the sounds and the clutter.
Welcome to Witter. Who Has Time to Read? The podcast that brings deep dives for busy minds. Listen to AI hosts Jane and Dane and get ready to unpack the world's most captivating books in just a fraction of the time. Whether commuting, working out, or just squeezing in a quick break, we deliver key insights, thought-provoking themes, and takeaways you can carry into your day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Plus, use our links in the description to purchase this book. Your support helps us bring more engaging book discussions to you. Listen and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Who has time to read? You do, with Witter.
Welcome back to Witter, your shortcut to deep dives for busy minds. We're continuing our Black Voices series this Black History Month, and today we're going deep on a book that'll grab you and make you think.
Ooh, sounds intense.
It is. We're diving into Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's it all about?
So imagine this. You're a teen, and your best friend just vanishes.
Like, poof, gone.
Exactly. That's the unsettling start of this mystery. We follow Claudia, a girl whose world is totally rocked when her best friend, Monday, disappears.
And no one seems to care.
That's the creepy part. No one, not the school, not even Monday's family, seems to notice she's missing. It's like she never existed, which makes the book extra chilling.
Wow, that's eerie. So how's the story told?
Through flashbacks. The book jumps between the before, when Claudia and Monday were thick as thieves, and the after, when Monday's gone.
Ah, I love that kind of structure. Keeps you guessing. So what makes you think something is really wrong? I mean, besides the whole missing best friend thing.
Right. Well, there are these little hints, these breadcrumbs, that something's off.
Breadcrumbs.
Yeah, like Claudia's mom, Ma, always says, leave a trail so people know where you are. But as the story unfolds, it feels like someone might be leaving breadcrumbs to mislead Claudia.
Ooh, that's creepy. Like someone's playing with her. What else is strange?
Little things at first. At Monday's house, the freezer is jammed in the living room, buzzing constantly. And then Claudia has to hide under the bed when Monday's mom comes home.
So like Monday's home life is messed up too?
It seems that way, right? And then there's how the adults at Claudia's school treat her.
Oh, how so?
They're more interested in labeling her than listening to her worries about Monday. Like, they think she might have dyslexia, but their focus is on their own failings as teachers, not on her very real fear that something bad happened to her friend.
Yikes. That sounds like a major failure on the adult's part.
Absolutely. It makes you think about whose voices get heard and who gets ignored, especially when it comes to kids.
That's a powerful point. So what happens with Monday? Do we find out what happened to her?
Claudia uncovers a truth about Monday that blows her mind and turns her world upside down. It's a turning point that throws her into a whirlwind of confusion, grief, and guilt.
Wow. That sounds intense.
It is. The way Jackson portrays the emotional fallout, the impact of trauma on Claudia's memories, it's really raw and powerful. And then just when you think you've got a handle on the story, it shifts. And we start seeing things from April's point of view.
April, who's that?
Monday's oldest sister. And this shift in perspective adds a whole new layer to the story because you start to see the pressure she was facing, the choices she had to make. She was carrying a lot, trying to protect her siblings, facing eviction, and the fear of losing everything.
That's a lot for anyone to deal with, let alone a teenager. It definitely makes you reconsider any judgments you might have had about her character. So the book tackles some tough topics, huh?
It does. Family struggles, loss, systemic issues, it's all there. And it makes you think about how these things impact people, especially those who are already marginalized. Like, is this just about one missing girl, or is it about something bigger?
Right. It makes you wonder how much of this is about individual choices and how much is about the systems that are failing these characters.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes Monday's Not Coming so compelling. It's not just a thrilling mystery. It's a story that forces you to look at the world a little differently, to question what you think you know, and to consider whose stories are being told and whose are being silenced.
It's interesting how, even with April's perspective, you don't get all the answers. There's a lot of ambiguity, especially about what's driving everyone.
You're so right. It's not like a clean mystery where everything fits perfectly at the end. You're left with this uneasy feeling, questioning everything. It really makes you think about how messy truth and memory can be, especially when someone's been through something traumatic.
Totally. Claudia's memories are like broken pieces of a mirror, all jumbled up, reflecting these distorted images. And it's not just a storytelling trick. That's how trauma really messes with your mind, you know? Memories get buried, twisted, or even wiped clean.
Making her search for answers even harder,
yeah.
right? She's not just trying to figure out what happened on Monday, but also wrestling with her own messed up memories.
It makes you wonder how much of what we remember is actually true and how much is just our own perspective, our biases, and our feelings in that moment. That question sticks with you even outside the book.
Absolutely. It makes you think about those eyewitness testimonies you hear about, how stories get twisted, how important it is to see things from different angles. You know, speaking of perspectives, there's this scene that really stuck with me. Claudia and Monday are at the carryout, and Monday always orders first because she's comfortable talking to strangers.
Oh yeah, I remember that. It's a small detail but says a lot about them, huh?
It shows how confident Monday is, how easily she handles things, while Claudia hangs back. But it also shows how much Claudia depends on Monday, how close they are. And then when Monday's gone, that closeness turns into this crushing loneliness. Really drives home that feeling of loss.
And there are all kinds of loss in the book. You have that eviction notice hanging over Ed Burrow, that potential loss of community. And then you have Claudia's personal loss. Losing Monday is one thing, but she also loses that innocence, that sense of safety. Her whole world is shattered.
And you pointed out that eviction notice. It might seem small, but it points to something much bigger, how Black communities get pushed out. We see it in history all the time, Black neighborhoods targeted for these so-called improvements that just end up displacing people who've lived there forever.
Exactly. It's this underlying tension, this feeling of being uprooted that adds to the unease of the story. Like the characters are trapped in a system that's working against them on so many levels. And then there's that scene where April admits that Monday actually hated pink, a color that Claudia always associated with her friend.
Right. That scene really got me. It totally flips Claudia's image of Monday, makes you question everything you thought you knew. It shows how we put our own ideas and assumptions onto others, blinding us to who they really are.
Reminds us that even in the closest friendships, there are secrets, that the people we think we know best can surprise us.
Totally. And that ties back to the book's exploration of memory and how we see things. It's not just about what happened, but how each person experiences it, how trauma shapes their memories. It's like we're all looking at pieces of a puzzle, but those pieces might be warped, missing parts. We don't have the whole picture.
And that's what makes Monday's Not Coming so powerful. It doesn't give you easy answers or simple endings. It just leaves you feeling uneasy, like there's always more to the story than what's on the surface.
Speaking of uneasy, one scene I couldn't shake was when Claudia falls asleep under Monday's bed. You know, while April's desperately trying to hide what happened, that buzzing freezer, the messy house, that feeling that something awful has gone down, but no one's talking about it. So creepy.
Oh yeah, that scene is so well done. Jackson uses these sensory details like the sounds and the clutter to make you feel that tension. It's like you're right there feeling that dread with Claudia.
She drops you right into their world, huh?
Exactly. Those little details, those breadcrumbs of unease, they're sprinkled throughout the book, like the flickering lights when Monday's dyeing her hair blonde, or the hum of that overstuffed freezer. They all build this feeling that something's off. Something's really wrong.
It's like she's giving us these little warnings, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And they're not just for suspense. Those details also show what's going on inside the characters, their hidden worries and anxieties.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Like the setting itself becomes a reflection of how the characters are feeling, like a physical manifestation of their fear and that feeling of being trapped.
It makes you think, what would it be like to live in a world where those warning signs are always there, where everything feels unsafe and unpredictable?
That's a scary thought. And it makes me wonder, how do things like inequality and injustice create those kinds of environments where certain communities are constantly living under pressure, facing danger and neglect?
And how those constant stresses mess with your mental well-being, leading to anxiety, making you feel like you always have to be on guard, making it hard to trust anyone.
It's a cycle that's so hard to escape. It feels like Monday's Not Coming goes beyond just telling a good story. It's like a commentary on how society fails vulnerable people, especially in marginalized communities.
Yeah, it definitely shines a light on those systemic issues. You see it in how the school brushes off Claudia's worries, the lack of support for families like Monday's, and even how Ed Burrow is targeted for redevelopment, basically pushing out the people who live there.
It makes you wonder if things could have been different, right? Like, what if someone had listened to Claudia? What if Monday's family had gotten help?
It's heartbreaking to think about, and it brings up the question of who we listen to, whose stories we believe. Claudia is screaming for help, but no one cares. It's like a metaphor for how Black girls, especially from poor neighborhoods, are often silenced and ignored. Their experiences become invisible.
That's a tough truth. And it makes you think, what's our responsibility to make sure everyone's voice is heard? How do we make sure every story matters?
It's not just about listening, right? It's about believing, about recognizing our own biases and fighting against systems that create inequality.
The language in the book is interesting too. How Jackson mixes formal and informal speech, slang, and standard English. It feels really authentic, like you're hearing the real voices of the Black community.
Right. And it shows how powerful language is. It can connect us, but it can also shut people out. It reminds us that even small choices in how we speak can affect how we see the world and how we treat each other.
It makes me think about representation, making sure everyone has a chance to share their story. Because how can we understand these issues if we only hear from a few people?
Totally. It's about expanding what we read, looking for authors and stories that challenge us, help us see things from new perspectives.
It's about opening our minds and appreciating how rich and complicated the human experience really is.
And I don't want to end on a downer because there's a thread of hope running through Monday's Not Coming. Even with all the sadness, there's resilience, a drive to find the truth and fight for justice.
You can see it in Claudia. She never gives up trying to find out what happened to Monday.
Yes.
It reminds us that even when things are tough, there's power in speaking up, standing up for what's right, and remembering those we've lost.
And that message goes way beyond this book. It's a call for all of us to be more aware, more caring, and more dedicated to making a world where everyone's voice counts, every story is valuable, and every life is precious.
So we're definitely recommending Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. It's a gripping mystery, a moving exploration of friendship, and a powerful look at the social issues that affect us today. It's a book that stays with you, makes you see the world differently, and maybe even inspires you to use your voice to make a change.
And as we continue our Black Voices series, we encourage you to check out other books by Tiffany D. Jackson and explore the amazing stories being told by Black authors across all genres.
These voices give us new perspectives, challenge what we think we know, and make our understanding of the world richer. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Monday's Not Coming. Keep reading, and we'll catch you next time on Witter, your shortcut to deep dives for busy minds.